Okay, thank you. Hey everyone, welcome to ACDC 165. This is issue 1716 in the PM repo. And the main topic for today will be Fusaka, with a few other minor notes for Amsterdam. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. So to kick us off, it'd be good to touch on Fusaka, Devnet 3 and Devnet 5, and yeah, kind of where we're at there. I wonder if Perry or Barnabas or Perry have any updates there or anything they'd like to call out.
Sure. Let's start with Devnet 3. Devnet 3 has been mostly very stable during this past week. We are over 96% participation now. Client teams are still pushing out fixes into their trunk branches and they get automatically deployed onto this network. We haven't been doing any kind of attacks or any splits in this past week because we have been mainly focusing on Kosaka Devnet 5 in this past week. Devnet 5 started out with 1,500 nodes, and we did Fulu last week Thursday. Then we did a BPO a day afterwards. We went up all the way to 72 max blobs, and we did 48 on the day before. Unfortunately, we had a bug in the configuration, which led to the full nodes getting a super node flag, which basically meant that our full nodes were at 100% bandwidth utilization pretty much all the time, which led to quite some issues. Yesterday, we fixed this by wiping all the full nodes and reinitializing their databases, and this also reset their CGC value. And we ran an analysis with 15 max blobs, 21 max blobs, and then 33 max blobs one more time. But because of the time window is so short between that time and ACD, the numbers are not really representative of many slots. The full nodes were representing 90% of the number of nodes, but only 10% of the validators on Devnet 5. Nevertheless, some from our team did an analysis. Pari just linked it in the chat. Hopefully, most of you had the time to take a look at before the call. And the conclusion of our analysis was that max values of 15 and 21 seem to be reasonable for BPO 1 and 2. And max value of 32 might lead to struggles into publishing blobs without MEV relays or full nodes with limited bandwidth. We certainly will have to do another analysis. It's probably going to be Fusaka Devnet 6, maybe a couple of weeks from now, but we feel like it should be good to go with Holosky and with these BPO numbers.
Okay, yeah, thanks for the update. Yeah, this analysis looks pretty good. I'm just looking at it now, but everyone definitely take a look there. And yeah, at least I think that will then confirm these first two BPOs, which I think was the main thing we wanted. So yeah, any other known bugs with any of the clients or any issues we should touch on with the DevNets?
Yes, Prism has a known bug that they are investigating right now that leads to a bunch of orphan blocks. We are rolling out a fix or a potential fix right now. I'm not sure if they have anything more to share.
Yeah, I can share something. So yes, we have a bug in Prism with a lot of orphan blocks. It seems to be only the case with high blob count and locally built blocks. So there is no issue if there is MEV or no issue with low blob count. We are still in the process of narrowing down the root cause. What just we know right now is when we produce the block is produced in very well-timed timely fashion, like a few 100 milliseconds after the start of the slot. And what we see at the end is when we broadcast data columns, the data columns are broadcast very late into the slot, like 6 or 7 seconds. So there is something fishy between after the end of the block building and before the start of the data column broadcasting. And yes, we are in the process of finding the root cause in this process. That's all I have to say.
It seems like this is a regression. Does that track with your understanding? Or
Sorry.
do you think something new was introduced that caused this, or is this a regression from what we had in the past?
Actually, possibly it's not a regression. Possibly it's an issue which is here for a long time. However, if I'm not wrong, in the past we mainly tested high block count with MEV, which does not cause any issue. And I think we really started to see the issue when MEV was deactivated on the Devnet 5 with high block count. So possibly it's not so. It's maybe something totally unrelated to peerless. A bug which was here from a long time, but which was not visible with a low block count.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, Roland and Perry.
Yeah, so I think this could be just kind of like a potential lead here. Could be the fan out mechanism. So basically, when you're a builder, you are forced to publish to 128 subnets simultaneously, which means that you need to have peers in all those subnets so that you're peering with that are part of your mesh. And this usually requires a little bit of preparation ahead of time to make sure that, given a particular peer count, active peer count, you have sufficient density of peers in each of those subnets. I am aware, I think we've been looking into the Prism code base as well in the peer-to-peer networking team, and we did find out some events in which Prism can like spend 5 to 6 seconds or something like that discovering peers when it doesn't have sufficient peers. And if this is part of the critical path, that could justify the delay that you're seeing here. And this goes like in general is an advice I think to all CL clients is ensuring that you're correctly predicting when you're going to be up for builder duty, for proposer duty. And if you're a local builder, then ensuring ahead of time that you have sufficient peers in your meshes so that when the time comes, you don't spend any time actually conducting the discovery during the critical path.
Yeah. So for information at Prism, we as soon as we have one active validator, we ensure to have at least 6 peers in our fan out for all data column subnets. So we don't compute. No, are we going to propose a block in one to epoch? Just yes. If we know we have validators, we always make sure that we have peers in all data column subnets. Permanently.
That's good. Yeah.
So normally, I mean, we don't have to search for a new peer when proposing a block. And if we do, we have log for that, and it doesn't seem to be the case. But yeah, I will double check for sure.
Yeah, one of the things I wanted to mention was in the past, we would either have MEV completely running throughout the lifespan of the network, or we would have it turned off. We didn't really have a fine-grained mechanism to change this mid-BPO, for example. But now we've added a scripting approach. So if a BPO lasts for 1 day, then 12 hours of the day is going to be with MEV and 12 hours without MEV. So just in case any client dev is looking at a DevNet and wondering why there are no MEV proposals, it's probably because we've disabled it so that we can test both local block building as well as MEV workflows for all block numbers.
And additionally, and from additional information, currently I know that I checked 1 hour ago, Devnet 3 had MEV on, and Devnet 3 has no issue about orphan blocks for Prism. And yes, Devnet 5 had MEV off, and there is a lot of orphan issue. Yeah.
Devnet 3 have a significantly more share of supernodes, though. and also much less blobs. They have a max blob count of 20 at most, and I think 50% of the network is supernodes. And on Devnet 5, it's also possible that some of your peers will be only peering with other non-supernodes. So peering will be significantly more difficult to find enough peers on enough columns that has all the columns that you need, basically.
Okay, I will double check that. Should not
Yeah.
be the issue, but yes, worth to check again.
We might need to increase the default peer count on some of the CLs. That I think Lighthouse also increased from 100 to 200.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else on the devnets? Okay. If not, then next on the agenda. So there was an issue that came up with CKZG. Justin had a note here in the chat. I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Justin. Otherwise, I can give a summary.
Nothing really to add, just that there was a misunderstanding of how Blast used points at infinity. Or, yeah, pretty much we fixed it with a new release. Shouldn't be an issue anymore.
New release of CKZG.
That's correct. Version 2.1.3.
Okay, gotcha. And the understanding is that everyone should be using 2.1.3, or at least not using 2.1.2.
Correct.
Okay. I don't remember if there's a way to link this in the specs, but there either should be, or yeah, I think we should make this clear somehow.
I don't think
How
it's
have people
necessary
handled
to.
this in the past? What was that, Felix?
Sorry, I don't think it's necessary to like link specific library versions in the spec.
Fair. So then we should just remove 2.1.2 from the repo.
You mean like, or what do you mean exactly?
Well, it sounds like 2.1.2 is just broken, right?
Yeah, sure. You want me to like
Okay.
remove it as a release from CKZG?
Yeah, I mean, I want to prevent what happened where I think some clients upgraded to it because there was a new release and then it caused some issues.
Yeah, I mean, we could discuss it. Personally, I don't think that's necessary, but sure.
Okay. I'll follow up with you later then. Then I guess that's everything there. Just be aware of that. Okay. Let's see here. Let me look at the agenda. Okay, so yeah, if that's everything we need to talk about in the dev nuts, the next thing I wanted to bring up was the testnet schedule. So I have a proposal here, and let me just run through it, and then we can discuss. So the proposal would be next Monday, which is the 22nd of September, effectively code freeze. This could be like a branch or some commit on, say, a trunk branch, but ultimately, this would be the code that would go into releases for testnets. If we have code freeze, then I believe the PandaOps team is willing to do some validation on this code, just to make sure things, look okay. And yeah, maybe once I'm done talking, they'll have something to add here on that point. But essentially, aim for code freeze next Monday. Then if we aim for testnet releases for all 3 testnets on the 25th, which I believe is next Thursday. Let me just double check that. It is. Then from there, we would aim following sort of the process stock that we had. It's something like 2 weeks for every testnet from there. So then Haleshki would be on 2nd of October, Sepolia on 16th of October, Hoodie on 30th of October, and there are 4 key pucks that align with all the different parameters we need here on the repo. And I guess one thing to note is The Sepolia fork that would work on the 16th of October is during ACD, so I'm not sure if we want to move that, even assuming we can, agree to the schedule here. But that was something to flag. And yeah, one other note, we would use the BPO schedule from Devnet 5. Again, it sounds like from the analysis we had, we can at least validate these first two BPOs with the numbers that were given. From there, I think everyone knows the deal. If there's a testnet fork and it doesn't go well, this basically, everything after that's on pause. If everything does go well, then even when we get to the last testnet with Hoodie, mainnet would be 30 days after that. So that's a proposal. It keeps things moving, and yeah, also generally follows this process document that we've been discussing over the last few ACDs. So I see, yeah, Christine here put this in the chat. Thank you for that. And okay, yeah, Barnabas, do you want to discuss your adjustments?
Right. So my adjustments would be that we don't do a fork on a non-Wednesday, basically.
Okay.
Wednesdays are probably the best, most suitable days for a fork because it allows us to debug before and afterwards as well. And it doesn't clash with ACD as well. My proposal would be we would do Holsky Fusaka on the 1st of October. Then a week after that, we do the first BPO. Then a week after that, we do the second BPO. Then a day after that, we do Sepolia Fusaka. And we basically just keep repeating this pattern throughout all the different testnets. So we wait 1 week for each BPOs, and we're gonna ship all the BPOs before we proceed for the next testnet fork. So this allows us to run analysis on the different testnets, just to make sure that everything is still looking good before we pull the trigger.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, yeah, I'll validate the numbers you have here, but that seems reasonable. I think most importantly, I would like to hear from the clients what they think. I reached out to a number of different, I think I reached out to every client team over the last couple of days, and I think generally they're okay with this. I think the main thing to figure out for now is just really next week in terms of code freeze and releases. But yeah, I'd love to hear if anyone has an issue with this or thinks we should make adjustments somewhere. So I've gotten thumbs up from all the client teams before, so if no one says anything, I will just assume it's still thumbs up. Okay, now there's a lot of thumbs up on the Zoom screen. So, okay, that's very exciting. Does anyone, I guess one question here is, yeah, like, do we just go with Barnabas' schedule? I'd have to look and see, but it seems good.
All the epochs are on the boundaries. So
okay, yeah, that's another
feel
thing
free
to check.
verify. Also, I made sure that the BPOs are on the boundaries as well.
Okay. Yeah, I guess what we could do, because this might take a little double checking async, is just also have this finalized by Monday along with code freeze. And I would say lean towards go with this unless someone wants to say otherwise. But yeah,
I
just
think the next
quickly.
step needs to be a PR to the ETH clients repository, updating and setting the forks, and then we can make sure that all the clients have looked at that before we merge it in.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Oh, Barnabas says you can do that. Great. So cool. Yeah.
One more thing that I suggested that we're gonna have different release deadlines instead of trying to get everyone to include all the timelines in the release. I'm not sure if they want to, but like we could have a you could basically have Holsky release deadline by the 24th, then Sepolia release deadline a week after that, and 2 weeks after that, the Huli one. I'm not sure if it's really needed or whether we just want to pre-schedule everything in one release.
Yeah, I think it's simpler for everyone if there's just one release. But yeah, I guess I'd love to hear from clients how they feel. Is that helpful for anyone?
So for Basis side, it would be helpful because we are working on some performance improvements that we would like to include for Fusaka. So we may need to have a different release between the one for Holesky and let's say the one for Hodi, for example.
Okay.
So I think like we can definitely do one for all, but we might also like do some service releases after that. But I think that's fine, and that should also be fine for best. So I don't really see this being a conflict. I think if we can agree that it's probably fine to have a release that supports as the baseline that supports all the test nets, but then have subsequent releases after that. That shouldn't be a problem.
Okay, so well, everyone will aim to have one release, but then yeah, if things update, then that's perfectly fine. Okay. Cool. Does everyone feel good about this?
Yeah,
I know
I
it's
tend to
been
also second that sentiment that we're ready for a release, and but the flexibility in case something comes up during test nets to be able to put one more out before mainnet.
yeah. I mean, you can always, I think, cut a release. But just for the test nets, given there's so many, sometimes it's simpler just to aim for one. But yeah, definitely we should be able to accommodate at least 3.
Practically, this means that unless things go catastrophically wrong, there will not be a schedule delay. That's not necessarily good and not necessarily bad, but once those releases are out there, and now essentially the dynamic that happens is it becomes partly as risky to delay the release, even if you think it might go wrong, than it is to the fork schedule, than it is to keep it going and just make it an emergency fix if all of the releases are scheduled at the same time. And this has happened before. So, I mean, as long as people go into that knowingly, that's fine. I don't know. It's a choice. But this is one reason why I know in other discussions this has been a trade-off discussed.
Yeah, I would say it's fine. I think because these testnets are only run by a very small group of people, we can always ask them to just use the newest release. Yeah, and the important thing is that we don't bake in the mainnet release into the testnet release, so that the mainnet release must be a different release. And I think that's it.
Yeah, sounds good to me. Okay. Again, I know this has been a huge lift to get here, so I guess congrats everyone. And let's hope the test nets go well. So cool, we'll get this PR up for the schedule.
Should I make the schedule then based on the timelines that I've suggested?
Yeah, I think so. I'll double check just to make sure
Yeah, sure.
things are aligned to these boundaries and stuff. But yeah, let's go ahead and go with what you had. It looks good. Cool. Okay. Anything else on Fusaka? I think this is pretty much what we have today on Fusaka, just because, yeah, we're in the process. Anything else?
The audit went live. Do we want to maybe mention that?
That would be good. Frederick, I don't know if you have something to say there. Otherwise, I can go try to find a link to it. I don't have one handy. Here, I'll just, oh yeah, thanks, Justin. Okay, so yeah, I was looking at this blog post here. So yeah, every upgrade, we usually do one of these security competitions. We have one live for Fusaka. There's a $2 million bounty here. And yeah, check out the post, especially if you are in the security space and listening to this recording or watching it live. This is super useful. We've found things in the past that, are direct impacts to mainnet security. So this is a super good program just to find any last bugs lingering. And yeah, I think that's all I have to say. I don't know if anyone wants to add anything else. Maria says it projects 20,000 submissions by the end of the contest. I don't know where that number is coming from.
Yeah, I don't know.
That sounds like a lot.
Yeah, the algorithm is kind of weird, but there have been some submissions, and the security team is looking at them. But we also want to encourage all the client teams to look at them as often as possible. Yeah, these things don't go stale, and we don't receive like duplicate submissions because the code hasn't been updated.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Anything else on Fusaka?
One more thing, like it would be very good to get an update on backfill from different clients, because I think that was one of the main points that we still have to ship. I think Lighthouse now has working backfill, but I'm not sure about any other client teams that have finished implementing backfill.
Okay, Photo says Prism has it. Yeah, there's the implementation they're working on.
I can say something more about the competition quickly. There is, for the client teams, so they're aware, there's a bit of an issue right now with the judging aspect, but that's going to be fixed tomorrow, most likely, so that client teams can provide comments and feedback on the severity levels, etc. And then if you need any more people from your team to have access to the competition to provide this feedback, then you can just reach out and we will get everyone added.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, Barnabas, back on the backfill topic. Do you just want to follow up async? Or
yeah,
do you have any other questions for right now? Okay. Did we want to touch on this earliest available slot thing? Because that also did come up.
I'm happy to bring it up, but I think that can also be discussed offline.
Okay. Another comment here in the chat from Solius. Grandine also has backfill, merged very soon. Cool. Then with that, Amsterdam, and then a few announcements from AB Kotup. Let's make sure I say that correctly. So yeah, with Amsterdam, I think the main thing to keep in mind for now is that we said we want to have non-headliner EIPs proposed by Fusaka mainnet releases, which with the schedule today gives you some more clarity on when that would be. So that's good. Otherwise, yeah, I don't think we really need to get into it, just because I think we should all stay focused on Fusaka for the time being. Yeah, if there's like very brief announcements or something anyone would like to provide around breakouts or something, I think that's admissible, but otherwise, I think that's all we really need to say there. Then on the announcements I mentioned, so we do have an ETH Magicians post here for the name for H star, which, yeah, I forget. Okay, there was a poll. Here, let me grab the link here. There was a poll here, and I guess, yeah, we just need to actually make the decision at some point. So yeah, take a look there if you want to chime in. And there's another request here for a name for the replacement testnet for Sepolia. I will share this because it was added to the agenda. I myself am not convinced we need to replace Sepolia, even though I know that was sort of what was written down with this LTS situation. But I think that might be a conversation for a different day. So in any case, following the schedule, yeah, we would basically sunset Sepolia soon-ish, and then there would be some replacement, and this post is just asking for a name for the replacement.
I do want to maybe make a point here. We're still helping a lot of people migrate from Holski to Hoodie. So we don't want to add to the chaos and immediately have everyone also migrate from Sepolia. So even though Sepolia is supposed to be end of the year terminated, I think we will add like a decent grace period. We'll probably update wording. And even if there is a replacement testnet for Sepolia, we'll make sure that both are running at least for a considerable time so that no one's overburdened with having to migrate the entire stack multiple times in a year.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. I mean, yeah, again, maybe a topic for a different day, but I am not sure why we need to actually tear down Sepolia at this moment. But yeah, again, different conversation. In any case, yeah, I think what Perry said stands. So there'd be plenty of grace period, just so there's not, yeah, more pressure there. Okay, with that, this was everything we had on the agenda today. Anything else?
I would like
Otherwise,
to discuss Amsterdam testing and
okay.
possibly splitting up Ball Devnet 0 and EPPS Devnet 0 and keeping them separate as long as we basically can and we want to. Prism now has a 90% done implementation that would support the block level access stuff. And I think we can just basically do a Prism only DevNet for all the ELs that would be supporting it. And that way we don't have to burden any of the other CL devs with this. And they can implement it whenever they want. So at least for the first couple of iterations of DevNet, I think we can just have it with Prism. And then on the other side, so that would not trigger any EPBS testing, and then we could have the EPBS testing without the BAL testing, basically. I just want to make sure that all the CL teams are focused on EPBS testing and writing EPBS stuff, and so we can start testing in parallel as soon as possible.
Yeah, that part makes sense. I was going to ask, is this okay with the Prism devs? Like, can they produce something that's good for BLs?
Oh, it's already done. Like it's 90% done.
Okay. 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 And yeah, just to be clear, that would have the EPBS features in it, and they would do BLs on top of that with EPBS?
No, it's without EPBS.
Okay, interesting. Photos?
Yeah, so the issue is that block access lists without ePBS requires a change in the beacon state, and this is the problem and why we were reticent on having different branches. With ePBS, block access list doesn't require any changes on the beacon state because we removed the header, the execution payload header from the state. So now in the future forks, whenever we change the payload, we do not need to change the beacon state anymore.
Okay. Francesco's also asking in the chat here. We might not need CL changes for BALs.
Yeah, just what was just said by Purus.
Oh, sorry. Okay. My bad.
Yeah, but the question is, can we check EL functionality without like testing any ePBS functionality?
So what would that look like? It would be a Fusaka release with no ePBS on top.
Yeah, so the PR that I linked is that. It's basically implement EIP 7928 as gloss fork without 77 straighting.
Okay. Does this work for the EL teams then? Because then they can use this for the CL, and then we can move ahead on BL devnets. Potos, did you raise your hand again?
Yeah, so I wanted to suggest, I mean, it's absolutely fine to use this branch now, but I would suggest that as soon as we have some minimal implementation of ePBS, that we can, if we could switch to doing this on top of ePBS, because maintaining this branch, even though it's mostly generated code, it's going to be a mess. It changes everywhere. Whenever you change the beacon state, it changes everywhere. So I think it would be better if we switch to doing block access list on top of ePBS so that we maintain a single, and we actually start merging into our main branches these changes.
Yeah, we just need it for now so that we can unblock stuff. We don't need to maintain this long term. The moment ePBS has minimum viable client support, we're going to switch over to that. We just want to ASAP start with block level access lists. And also just for the other CL teams, you guys don't have to do anything. We just need one CL team to take on the topic because that will unblock us and the rest of you can continue to work on ePBS and merge everything later.
Okay. So it sounds like we have a plan then. We can use this PR here, 15.7.12. And move ahead with BLs. And then, yeah, I guess another sort of point here is not having this become like a persistent branch. Plan being to get things merged sooner rather than later. And yeah, okay. Are we good there? Marvis?
Yeah, I have just one more thing. So if we can have client releases done by maybe next week, Monday or Tuesday or something like that, and we plan to do a shadow fork. And this shadow fork is going to be for Hoodie, one for Sepolia, and one for Polsky. And then probably we can also do a mainnet shadow fork, but maybe not next week. So ideally, as soon as the client teams are ready, please let us know because we would like to have this shadow fork up and running as soon as possible.
Yeah, there's also a question here from James about this. So I don't think it matters to you, but would you prefer a release or, is like a commit okay? Or is it more up to the team?
I would personally prefer a release, yeah.
Okay. That might take a few more days though. And is that okay?
When do client teams plan to have Polsky releases if we plan to roll it out by the 1st of October?
So
I mean,
I think
we
generally
can
we're
roll
aiming
out.
for Thursday next week.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we can do that. If we have
Yeah.
releases by next Thursday, we can do host key shadow fork next week, Friday.
Yeah, so maybe some context on that. We already have all of our shadow fork playbooks up and running. I'll run them through a mock version tomorrow so that when the client releases are done, it should take us a matter of, let's say, hours before we'll have the shadow fork up.
Okay, so I guess the point is that Pandops will do some validation here with shadow forks and things as soon as they have, something from your client team. Yeah, I think from there, like if we can hit Monday, that's great. The reason to separate like code freeze on Monday from say release on Thursday was just because some of the clients I think have a few days to like soak the code before they make a release. So yeah, but then I guess you're also saying it's fine if you don't get that an implementation until Thursday, right, Barnabas?
Yeah,
Okay,
that's fine.
your thumb is still up. Okay, cool. Everyone clear on that? Any questions?
I'm wondering a little, I mean, has this been tested at SQL? I mean, I say as Nimbus was what Nimbus and Teku were a couple of the clients who discovered this. Nimbus was exposed to this in the devnets for a while, and we were performing worse because of this. This was fine-ish on the devnets, that's what they're for. We don't, but typically we would not want to do a release with who knows? I mean, especially if it's Blast and CKZG at the same time. I would say, except for emergency situations, this is precisely the kind of dependency bumps that I would wait till just after a release like this to do. So we had not just 2 days, but weeks, or at least a couple of weeks, which is clearly not going to happen in this case. For this to soak, to use the verb people are using here. So that there's some wariness on my end from that, I'll say.
Yeah, because you're concerned with an issue in the newest CKZG release, or just simply that
Well,
it hasn't had time to
if
become Lindy.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if it were only the CKZG, it actually wouldn't be as bad because if that only really affects Fusaka to begin with, and that's a lower stakes thing for now. That's testnet only. But we don't do testnet only releases if we don't have to, and we won't have to otherwise here. And so this will also be a mainnet release, not the Fusaka fork mainnet release, but the mainnet release. And Blast is a absolutely critical dependency. We don't update with P2P like 3 days before release either. That's stupid high risk. Why I don't know that we would update Blast, and that's why I asked before and got the answer from Justin saying, well, no, like they go together, and they don't. Blast doesn't have released out yet.
That's true.
This is just high
Justin,
risk from my end.
would you prefer if we make a new CKZG release that adds back the pointed infinity filtering to CKZG so that you do not have to update Blast?
Yes.
Okay. We'll do that. I think that would make everyone feel better. So yeah, consider that done. I'll do it today.
Okay, great.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. If not, then let's go ahead and wrap up today. Good luck with Fusaka, everyone, and I will see you next time. Oh, this is a fun question from Perry. Did anyone do anything cool to celebrate Merge Day? I imagine we were all working on Fusaka. Yeah. Okay, I'll see you all next time. Thank you.
Bye-bye, guys.
Bye.